Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Part 2, Chapter 4, texts 42, 43. Nonetheless, my dear Brahmana, you are a resident of the material world, and your intelligence is confined because you can only see matter. Therefore, I say, it is like this, so that by material examples, you might understand various things more easily. May Lord Hari forgive this offense. Commentary: an attempt to describe spiritual existence in material terms is, strictly speaking, inappropriate and impossible. Yet, if a conditioned soul can be even a little attracted by words evoking some of the glories of Vaikuntha, and if he can be encouraged to take up the task of spiritual development, the impossible can indeed become possible. Any honest attempt to enlighten the conditioned soul with Vaikuntha consciousness is worthwhile and praiseworthy, even though our thinking may now be covered by concepts of matter and conditioned life. Pure Vaishnavas can guide us gradually to transcendental understanding. We know from ordinary experience what a king is. So if we can further appreciate the personality of Godhead as the supreme king, we have begun to understand his glories. Text 44. Though there seem to be hierarchies in Vaikuntha, its residents all enjoy equality among themselves. In this, there is no contradiction. Commentary: the residents of Vaikuntha are equal because all of them can do anything they want. That some of them appear greater than others is not contradictory, because all these devotees show their natural opulence and power in different degrees by their own free choice. 45. Absent among them are faults like envy, and their innate good qualities ever shine forth by the thousands. I made a lot of markings on this purport. The superficial appearance of superior and inferior classes among the residents of Vaikuntha cannot cause dissatisfaction there, because the Vaikuntha Vasis are faultless. They are never affected by jealousy, the inability to tolerate the superiority of others. They never quarrel and never disrespect anyone. Rather, they are eternally full of good qualities, including friendship, humility, and respect. Material qualities may also be considered eternal, in the sense that material nature herself is eternal. But the qualities of the residents of Vaikuntha are not only eternal, nityaha, but also real, satyaha. They are not products of Maya. The qualities of Vaikuntha Vasis are swabhavika, the natural spontaneous expressions of spiritual personality. As Lord Brhad described in 3rd Canto Bhagavatam 3:15, 18, and 19, quote, when the king of bees hums in a high pitch, singing the glories of the Lord, there's a temporary lull in the noise of the pigeon and the cuckoo, the crane and the chakravakas, the swan, the parrot, the partridge, and the peacock. Such transcendental birds stop their own singing simply to hear the glories of the Lord. Although flowering plants like the mandara, kunda, Kurabaka, and Utpala, the Chambaka, Arna, and Punaga, the Nagakesha, Bakula, Lily, and Parijata are full of transcendental fragrance. They are still conscious of the austerities performed by Tulsi, for Tulsi is given special preference by the Lord, who garlanded himself with Tulsi leaves. Paragraph. Gopalkumar's further description of his own experience of Vaikuntha will establish that the pigeons and other creatures mentioned by Brahma are all personal associates of Lord Narayan. 46. Superficially, those residents of Vaikuntha may appear like sense enjoyers of the material realm, but in fact, their feet are worshipped by liberated souls. Commentary. Because the devotees of Vaikuntha enjoy their senses in wonderful ways, living a life full of song and dance, one might judge them to be no better than the selfish materialists of the world of Maya. The truth is, however, that the feet of the Vaikuntha-vasis are worshipped by elevated souls who have transcended the limits of matter, given up the attractions of sense pleasure, and dedicated themselves fully to the service of the Supreme Lord. There is no valid reason to suspect that the devotees of Vaikuntha are ever addicted to the paltry enjoyment produced by material senses. Bhagavatam 3:15, 17, and 20, Lord Brahma also points this out in his description of Vaikuntha. Quote, in the Vaikuntha planets, the inhabitants fly in their airplanes, accompanied by their wives, and eternally sing of the character and activities of the Lord, which are always devoid of all inauspicious qualities. While singing the glories of the Lord, they deride even the presence of the water, of blossoming Madhavi flowers, the presence in the water of blossoming Madhavi flowers, which are fragrant and laden with honey. Unquote. In other words, even while enjoying wonderfully, the devotees of Vaikuntha are always absorbed in the ecstasy of worshiping the personality of Godhead. The Madhavi flower blooms during the spring when the attraction of sense pleasures reaches a peak. Yet, even though such attractions may stimulate the senses of the devotees, this does not at all distract them from their devotional service. And there's a second verse from Canto 3, Chapter 5, Brahma describing Vaikuntha. Quote, Vaikuntha is full of devotees who seem never to do anything but bow down at the feet of Lord Hari. Although while traveling in their airplanes made of lapis lazuli, emerald, and gold, they are crowded by their consorts who have large hips and beautiful smiling faces. Those Vaikuntha residents cannot be stimulated to passion by such mirth and beautiful charms, unquote. Karmis, Gyanis, and Yogis cannot hope to attain anything for sense gratification like what the devotees in Vaikuntha enjoy. All this enjoyment, however, never degrades the Vaikuntha devotees from the mode of pure goodness because they are perfectly fixed in the loving service of Lord Narayana. 47. Those devotees have attained the absolute limit of changelessness, yet they playfully show all kinds of transformations while taking part in their Lord's pastimes. Commentary. In both types of the Supreme Lord's pastimes, namely those predominated by the mood of opulence and those predominated by sweetness. The devotees who take part pretend to undergo transformations just to create the varieties that give the Lord pleasure. In Vaikuntha, there are no forces of nature to impel anyone to do anything he doesn't want to do. The only force impelling the devotees is pure love, which makes them act exclusively for the pleasure of Lord Narayana. 48. Thus, although equals, they manifest individual variety. In that place, everything is so, including the profusion of airplanes. Commentary. Because the personality of Godhead wants to enjoy varied pastimes, his devotees, who are all essentially equal on the platform of pure spiritual existence, assume different forms and positions in his service. Even the apparently inanimate things in Vaikuntha are of the same transcendental nature. Thus, the airplanes, trees, houses, and so on are all perfect living beings, qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord and with all other living beings, and they appear in whatever forms the Lord requires for his pastime, for his pleasure. If people of the world could have access to this, they're not inquisitive, but if they were inquisitive, like, what's it like there? What do you do? "49. Sometimes that place appears full of riches like gold and jewels, and sometimes its atmosphere appears chalk white like a thick condensation of moonlight." What poetry. Commentary. Gold, jewels, and moonlight are among the greatest fascinations of the material world. Yet, they only dimly reflect the infinitely varied attractions of the Vaikuntha atmosphere. 50. Vaikuntha may be somehow understood only by its own spiritual influence and not otherwise. Indeed, even the mind cannot grasp its form. Commentary. One can understand the Lord of Vaikuntha and know the various locations of his pastimes only when he reveals himself by his special potencies, such as Karunya, mercy. Devotees, favored by the Lord, can use their spiritual intelligence to infer something about the nature of Vaikuntha by comparison with things they have seen, touched, or otherwise encountered in the material world. And devotees, fully purified, can perceive Vaikuntha directly. The external mind and senses, however, can never discern the spiritual existence. One, therefore, has no right to speak as an authority on that existence unless one has been granted insight by the Lord's mercy potency. 51. Except by direct experience, no one can rightly understand Vaikuntha. No more than this can I accurately describe. Commentary. A conditioned soul may discover the transcendental world of Vaikuntha, but only if he sees the higher reality for himself. By hearing from someone who has seen Vaikuntha, one may gain only a glimmer of understanding. Nonetheless, when a devotee, aspiring for the Lord's service, hears the instructions of his self-realized spiritual master and faithfully practices the disciplines such a guru recommends, the devotee gradually becomes pure in heart, and when his faith sufficiently matures, he can see the spiritual world. Only by that direct perception does knowledge become perfect. casual hearing, even from those who have seen the truth, is not enough. One must become a disciple of such an authority and accept the disciplines that lead to self-realization. 52. When one sees those splendors of Vaikuntha, the happiness realized in Brahman at once seems empty, and as if from sheer embarrassment on its own, it disappears. Commentary. After a purified Vaishnava has realized the glories of Vaikuntha and its inhabitants, the prospect of impersonal realization loses all attraction. It simply disappears, like the stars at dawn. 53, 54. Those who are self-satisfied, fulfilled in all desires, and free from all material concerns, who have renounced everything they know and possess, who have associated with Vaishnavas and have thus acquired the power to discern between the essential and the non-essential, it is they who enter the path of devotional service. When I went to Vaikuntha, that is what I vividly saw. Commentary. Even though Gopalkumar's student has been told that only direct perception can give him true understanding of the nature of Vaikuntha, he may still be anxious to have some other means to gain the specific faith that the disciple of Bhakti Yoga demands. Anticipating this anxiety, Gopakumar here describes the logic by which one can know theoretically the super excellent happiness of Vaikuntha. Advanced mystics who have realized the supreme truth in its impersonal aspect sometimes abandon the happiness of Brahman for the opportunity to realize Vaikuntha. They leave aside both their knowledge and their perfectly developed realization to enter the path of devotional service. Once they experience the bliss of Vaikuntha life, they condemn what they formerly considered happiness in impersonal realization. This is evidence of the wonder of Vaikuntha. Text 55. As I watched those persons come and go, I thought, what kind of Lord must it be who has such servants? Commentary. After seeing such beautiful and opulent servants of Lord Narayan come and go through the gateway of Vaikuntha, Gopakumar could not help but imagine how beautiful and opulent must be Lord Narayan himself. Certainly a proper master should be superior to, in all respects, to his servants. 56, 57. Thus, I thrilled with delight as I waited at the gateway of Vaikuntha. I excitedly stood up and sat down, stood up and sat down, till the associates of the Lord returned, rushing back and escorted me inside. The amazing things I then saw, more wonderful than wonderful. Gopi. Even the thousand-headed Anantasheshu have been able to describe, even in a lifetime of Brahma. Commentary. The escorts who had gone inside the city to announce Gopakumar's arrival now came running back because their Lord did not want him to have to wait outside any longer. As soon as Gopakumar entered the actual realm of Vaikuntha, he saw more wonders than he could ever describe to a conditioned soul. His student would have to be satisfied with a brief outline of this experience. 58. I arrived at several more gates, one after another, and at each I was met by similar doorkeepers who allowed me to enter only after announcing my arrival to their immediate superiors. 59, 60. As I entered each gate, I saw the guards offer obeisances to the local superintendent. So I assumed that he was the Lord of the universe. Overwhelmed with reverence, just as before, I repeatedly bowed down and recited prayers. Commentary. Gopakumar was so eager to see the Lord that he mistook the Lord's glorious devotees for the Lord himself. As Gopakumar passed through each gateway with his escorts, they were met by the local manager, whose relatively greater opulence astonished him. He was becoming more and more eager to see Lord Narayan. It's quite a build-up. Finally, 61. The Lord's compassionate men who were guiding me told me the special signs by which to recognize the Lord. They also taught me what prayers to recite and what etiquette to observe. Commentary. Gopakumar's escorts informed him of the unique visible signs of Narayana, like the Srivatsa mark on his chest. Apart from these few special features, the Lord in Vaikuntha is indistinguishable from his devotees, who show the perfection of Sarupya. Out of genuine humility for Gopakumar, his guides taught him how to behave in front of Lord Narayan. First, to bow down and then stand some distance aside, palms joined, look down at the Lord's lotus feet, refrain from moving or displaying bodily transformations, and so on. Text 62-63. I passed rapidly through many districts, wonderfully splendid, with all kinds of houses and gates, and then I entered the most excellent transcendental neighborhood. There I came to one palace at whose feet many others stood in attendance, a palace district, overflooded in greatness, where excellence seemed to reach its highest limit, radiant like millions of suns and moons. It captured my mind and my eyes. Commentary. Smaller palaces on all sides face that grand one, like servants surrounding their master. That palace, diverse in effulgence, like millions of suns and moons, lured Gopakumar's eyes and mind into captivity, enslaving their functions in reverence to the Lord's opulence. 64-65. Within that palace, I saw before me at a distance the personality of Godhead, Lord of Vaikuntha. He sat at leisure on the best of royal thrones, a golden throne shimmering with the glow of many jewels. The cushion on which he sat was of swan white cotton, fine, attractive, spotlessly clean, and the soft, handsome bolster on which he leaned his left elbow and upper arm appeared like the full moon, cleansed of its spots. He was the presiding lord of blossoming youth. Commentary. Since the entrance hall of Lord Narayan's palace stretched a long way, Gopakumar's first glimpse of the Lord was from a distance. But the Lord was sitting happily right in front of him on a throne with cushions white as a full moon washed of its spots. Although he is the original person, he seemed ageless, as if in the prime of youth. He displays his opulences however he chooses, so forever displays a youthful beauty that is among the most attractive of his opulences. 66. The brilliant effulgence of his sweet, attractive limbs defeated the splendor of new rain clouds. That effulgence lent further grace to his garland, cosmetics, and garments, already graced by jewelry made of gold, bedecked with diamonds, bedecked with gems. Commentary. And every part of Lord Narayan's body was beautifully formed with youthful charm that enamored whoever saw him. On his head, neck, arms, chest, and ankles, he wore golden, gem-bedecked jewelry, which enhanced the beauty of his Vaijayanti flower garland, his yellow dress, and his sandalwood paste, and other cosmetics. 67. His 4 shining arms, long and well-built, enhanced the beauty of his bangles and armlets. 2 yellow silk garments dressed his body, and charming earrings set off his round cheeks. The 2 is his dhoti and upper cloth. Lord Narayan's arms appeared like the shine. This is commentary. Lord Narayan's arms appeared like the shining bodies of celestial serpents. His dhoti and upper cloth are yellow like the rays of the sun. 68. On his broad chest was the Kaustubha gem. On his conch shell neck was a string of pearls, and on his moon-like face a nectarian smile. His lotus eyes were alive with playful glances. Commentary. The moon is famous as the source of heavenly soma nectar, the rare sacrificial offering enjoyed by a few select demigods like Indra. Lord Narayan's face is another moon and also full of nectar. The charming gestures of his lotus eyes are beyond compare. There's pages of like what his appearance. 69. The great compassion he felt made his beautiful eyebrows dance. Rama, his ideally matching consort, standing by his left side, reverently offered him excellent pan to chew, which he accepted. Commentary. The goddess of fortune would personally prepare Lord Narayan's betel nut and offer it to him with her own hand. Pleased with her service and the excellent quality of the pan, Lord Narayan would gracefully accept it with the tips of his right thumb and forefinger, placing it in his mouth and chew it contentedly. The goddess of fortune, Rama, is the suitable consort for Lord Narayan because she is the best of all women. She equals him in beauty and other good qualities. We should understand that the Lord's other consort, Bhumi, was also serving him from his right side. Bhumi and Rama. So Shri and Bhu, right? The color of that pan made his bimba fruit lips even more attractive, and their luster reflected on his teeth. 2 rows of spotless kunda flowers. Illumined by the glow of those flowers, his playful smile shone splendidly. His amusing words and gestures stole away the hearts of his devotees. Commentary. The bimba is a bright red fruit whose brilliant color resembles that of the Supreme Lord's lips. The kunda flower is a small, pure white jasmine. Nice to know. Kunda flower. I thought parijata was jasmine. You don't know.
Parijata has an orange stalk.
So kunda is pure white. But the flower is, anyway, Hare Krishna. The goddess Dharani, holding in her hand a vessel to catch the remnants of betel nut, constantly worshipped the Lord with messages in sidelong glances. And the Lord's excellent weapons, like Sudarshana, served him in beautiful personified forms, their identities marked by symbols on their heads. Commentary: Dharani, or Bhumi, is the second goddess of fortune, whose expansion is the presiding deity of the earth. While Rama served Lord Narayana his pen, Dharani stood by to receive the remnants he would spit into a vessel meant for that purpose. 72. Servants stood all around him, worshiping him with great respect, their appearance like his, their hands beautified by transcendental items they held for his service, like slippers and yak tail fans. 73. Shesha, Garuda, Vishvaksena, and the other leaders of his many groups of attendants bowed down before him with devotion, stood before him with palms joined above their heads, and praised him in wonderful poetic language. Commentary: along with Shesha, Garuda, and Vishvaksena, other main servants of Narayan were present, such as Nanda and Sunanda, Jai and Vijay, Bala and Prabala, all of them together. Shesha and the others are called Gana Dyakshas. Gana Dyakshas, or leaders of various groups of the Lord's servants. The 8th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, confirms, quote, Nanda and Sunanda, Jai and Vijay, Bala and Prabala, Kumudha, and Kumudaksha are all associates of Lord Vishnu, and so also are Vishvaksena, Pratatrirat, Pratatrirat. That's Garuda. You familiar with that term? Okay. Pratatrirat. Jayanta, Shrutadev, Pushpadanta, and Satvata. 74. Sri Narada's dancing and his expert singing and Veena playing created such clever entertainment that the Lord and his two consorts, Rama and Dharani, sometimes laughed out loud. Lakshmi, or Rama, is also called Kamala, and Dharani is also called Dhara. 75. To add to the special ecstasy of his devotees, whose hearts were fixed only on him, from time to time the Lord extended both his lotus feet as a way to offer himself. In this way, he exhibited his splendor. Commentary. In this verse, the word Atmanaha, or of himself, can indicate either that he offered his devotees his feet or that he offered himself. Of course, the Lord cannot literally give his feet away, but his feet are the property of the Vaishnavas. This is described by Lord Brahma in the 3rd canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 826. Quote, the Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service free from material contamination. Such awards are for those who worship him in pure devotion. The splendor of those transcendental rays from his moonlight toenails and fingernails appeared like the petals of a flower. Unquote. For those who worship the Lord's lotus feet with the desire to obtain them as their own possession, and who follow the methods of pure devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting, The Lord kindly reveals his feet by raising them slightly. He takes the trouble to do this because he cannot help but think how to benefit his devotees. I'll read one more verse and we'll call it a day. 76. The fullness of the ecstasy this sight brought on made me forget what the intendants of the Lord had instructed me. I cried out again and again, "Oh, Gopal, my life and soul!" And I ran forward to embrace the Lord. Commentary. Having chanted the 10-syllable mantra of the Lord for so long, having chanted the 10-syllable mantra of Lord Gopal for so long, Gopakumar was used to worshiping the Lord with natural spontaneity, and now he impulsively expressed his love in a way unusual for Vaikuntha. Forgetful of all ideas of awe and reverence, he ran forward with open arms to embrace the Lord. He doesn't get there. Sanatana Goswami, our great acharyas. I mean, it's Bhagavatam. It's not just Krishna in Vrindavan. I mean, Krishna in Vrindavan, just Krishna in Vrindavan. But it's everything.